It'll load it in just a second. It says we're going live now.
Okay.
And I'll do the little intro and we'll get started. All right. All right, and welcome to Alchemy 101. This is your local wizard alchemist, Taylor Marquise. Tonight, or today, actually, we're doing the show today. This will be a pre-recorded broadcast, guys. We are with the golden ticket creator himself, maker of mischief, phenomenal all-around being, Mr. Harry Judge. How are you, brother?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm glad we're finally doing this.
So,
I'm so excited for everyone to finally get to meet you, because it's been such an amazing journey and help for me and my journey with everything that I've been doing, and in such an unexpected way, and also in ways I'm sure that you don't even know. And that's kind of been our relationship has been very quick, symbiotic, overly appreciative, and full of gratitude for what we're trying to accomplish, both individually and together. All right.
yes, that's been exactly my experience. And like you said, kind of like from the beginning, like from the moment.
Yeah. So Harry, so before I get into it, can you tell us like a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, what you do, which I know what you do is a very loaded thing, but in the terms of the regular 9-to-5ers out there, like,
Sure.
give us a quick little breakdown.
Yeah, sure. So I'm from Canada. I am from Alberta, Canada, specifically Medicine Hat, Alberta, which the name is a unique one. It's very much, there's a lot of indigenous roots in that area. And Medicine Hat that name came from local legend where obviously, shamanism may come up in this conversation, and medicine men, in terms of our indigenous tribes in North America, as they were called, medicine men, the medicine man's hat fell off his head at a certain point in a river, and a settlement grew up around that area, apparently, and that was the genesis of the name Medicine Hat. And at the time, it's just an unusual name, but as I think back to it now, and as I tell you this story, I realized like there was, whispers of the other side of the two worlds even then, growing up in that city, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's where I grew up, and went to school in Edmonton, Alberta, and lived all my life as a prairie boy. And if you haven't seen wide open prairie, it's something. It's really something to behold, where you cannot see the end of the land. Where all you have is distance. And so we see it over oceans sometimes, but to actually see it on solid land and go, there's no end to this space. It opens up your vision entirely. When you're surrounded by mountains or by trees, there's already kind of a built-in barrier that happens that essentially forms what we consider to be our vision. But when that starts to go away, when suddenly everything is wide open, maybe that has an impact too on
Dude, it's funny you say that, because I grew up in Iowa. And very same thing, just rolling plains forever and ever and ever, or fields. And yeah, that endless mass is I think definitely a wow, I never thought about it before. But yeah, it's definitely a different feel than looking over water, for sure. Man, wow. That's my man. See, even today, right now, guys, live, we've seen it happen. Okay, it's my guy. So that's where you grew up.
That's where I grew up, and then eventually made my way into university and into an acting program. 12 students, 3 years, doing the conservatory Juilliard kind of style training, like classical, text-based, very much about training actors to perform on the biggest stages that they could. That was really the focus of the training, at least at my time. And so it was the right place for me. I loved language, loved words, had amazing teachers, and classmates that became a family. We were gifted by each other by having the class that we had. We had a little Zoom call reunion recently, and the organizer of that union very kindly invited a couple teachers to be part of it as well. So there were us, the classmates, and a couple of our teachers, and one of them said, in reference to our class, he's like, you were a special class because you brought out the best in each other. he said, when I would come into the room with you and your class,
Mhm.
there was always an energy in the room, no matter what, no matter where each of you were individually, there was always a collective energy that would buoy everyone and keep everything alive. And he said for him, it was a gift because, then because it's not always like that. Sometimes you come into a group and you as a teacher have to generate, you have to create, you got to get everyone up and motivated and alive. But with us, he would come in and the energy would be there. And then his job then became, how do I direct this? What do we do now together?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so I think, that has really informed me moving forward, is like, in the varieties of different endeavors that I've done since, it's like, what is the energy of the group and who's bringing their own energy to contribute to the group that adds to the whole thing. And then we can take that and move it and make something with it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So you kind of like from the beginning, you didn't have like, we've all had our different little alchemic journey, and some it's right at the beginning, some it's like 20 years in, some it's 50 years in, but you sounds like you've just had different things that kind of fine tune different things to create this kind of, I guess, scope eventually to view what you see now. Like it was just always something that was kind of working in the background, or maybe
As
purposely.
I look back at it, that's how it feels. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It feels there are very specific moments that are clear of like moving him here, moving him here, moving him away from that idea into this idea. And it hasn't always been smooth, and it hasn't always been, and it's almost never been how, what would be traditional
Mm.
in terms of like the path, but it's always been what I needed, and for as long as I needed it. Sometimes I've looked back at my career as an actor and gone, oh, maybe why wasn't I working longer here? Or should I have done more there or done more of these kind of things? And I realized that I was moved on when I'd completed the experience and when there was something else for me to move to. And so I feel that, and experiencing that in my career and being able to reflect back on it, it's given me that certainty that happens, that I have now, that the thing that doesn't materialize, the thing that we think we want to materialize, we can't see. Generally, most people cannot see from here looking down at the picture of our lives,
Right.
at the path that we're traveling. So we don't know that if we continue along that path, we may miss out on this other amazing thing. So yeah, even, I mean, the clearest example, there are two clear examples that started my awareness of that. One was job shadowing a lawyer, because I thought, oh, I love to debate. I love language. I love argument. I love getting up and I love thinking on my feet. I love the creation, the in the moment interaction and creation of argument.
Yeah.
So, hey, be a lawyer. But when I actually went and saw what a lawyer did, I'm like, oh, okay. And that steered me off the path. And then eventually went to theater school, and then, I don't want to do this. I want to make money. I can do this on the side. I can do this casually. I can do this in community theater or something like that. I can satisfy whatever urge that is to perform another way. I'll go into business. So I did that for a year, taking business requirements. And then another thing happened that was like, no, let's get you back. And that put me back on the path to going into that theater program.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so acting, and we don't have to get too into it, but just so, is there anything that people might have seen you on? Like I know, but there could be other things I don't know, because I've seen you on a couple things.
Yeah.
I have. I actually watched an entire, and we'll get into, I watched the entire series of a show that I had never watched, because I traditionally only watch like sci-fi stuff or comedy.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started watching that show, I'm like, okay, this is cool. I like this stuff, all right. And I'm like, all right, when's Harry gonna be on? And I get like all the way to, I'm like, no. Oh, wait, and you're this guy? Oh, and like it was great to see you, and it was so painful at the same time. You know what I mean? But so please, what shows?
Well, for Canadian viewers, they would have seen me in a couple episodes of Murdoch Mysteries, which you might get in some places in the States, but it's really it's a UK and Canadian show. It's sort of like it's like a detective show, and I've had a couple of fun appearances on that over the years, different characters, and a couple CW shows like Nikita. I played a really cool character. He was a spy, and his gift was more his technology. He had contact lenses that snapped pictures of you.
Yeah.
So you would watch something, you would just blink and take pictures that way. So that was a cool character. The Watchman.
Yeah.
So visible there. Popped up on Rain, and then more recently there's the episode of Suits that I appeared on,
Fantastic.
which season 7 of that, and then I've also had an association now with Star Trek Discovery.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's it was so funny is so before I knew this about Harry, I'm traditional. You guys know me. I'm a Jedi. I'm very Star Wars, very much. And in all honesty, Star Trek was one of these things until Discovery that it was so like just drama based in space that I was like, meh. When I started watching Discovery, I was like, yo, I can get into this. And I love the whole show. And then guys, when I finally got to go out to Toronto and actually hang out with Harry, we did a Mystech event, and he brought me a photo with him and the entire cast. And when I say this, watch this. This thing is literally on my desk right now. Okay. So it's like I have pictures of my kids in this, and that's it. And my wife's like, she first saw it, she's like, what? That's kind of weird. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is my guy through the cosmos, and this is a gift he gave me. So what else would I put it? Like all the people out there, you guys will send me credit. So that's an amazing gift. So what do you do with that? So that's one of those things. And because we have this connection, we'll get into this in a second. It's part of like my process of the day of knowing that there's other like-minded people out there that are trying to push these type of things forward in their own way, even though it's synergistic in the overall approach. So if I'm like, man, what should I be doing? Whatever. And it's funny because I don't know how quickly you guys saw that photo. And for all the listeners on Artist First, you didn't get to see it. It's a beautiful photo. Harry is overly ecstatically happy. And all the other people,
the photo, it was really brief. Show it again.
Yeah, so I see it. So I'm telling you, it's I don't know how let me make sure we get on the camera.
Oh yeah.
So, right there, can you see it okay?
Yeah, it's good.
So see, look at that. That is pure joy, ladies and gentlemen. That is what you're supposed to look like when you're doing something and getting paid at the same time. If you enjoy life, figure out how to get this. Sorry about the green screen, guys. Look at that.
Go back to you. Go back to you. Like bring it closer back. That's it. There you go.
Bam. There you go. Did I see that? Okay, that's what you want. That's what you want. So that's again. That's part of it. And so having things done on purpose and having things in place in front of you all the time to have these affirmations and ideals to keep catapulting you forward, I think is really, really important. And so that's such a fantastic photo because you guys wouldn't know who he is in the show because you're one of the aliens, right? You've got how many hours of makeup?
Totally covered. 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on the team. Yeah. Okay.
So all the other people, you know who those people are in the show looking at him, and they don't look nearly as happy as he does. So I'm saying like your space in this world, whether micro, macro, intergalactic, whatever it might be, your choice of how happy you want to be about that decision is entirely on you. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that drew me to Harry right away about this was, so let me explain this really quick. I met Harry at the Beloved Festival that we've talked about so many times on the show. Like I said, guys, it's like stepping into another world for a week. Like you're not on Earth anymore. You're some other place, right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
And you're up there with just literally thousands of beautiful, happy, wonderful, wanting to heal everyone type of people. So amongst that, having this beacon of light 50 feet away from us in the booth next to us, serving ice cream to people, and so excited about ice cream and interacting with people, like it's something you cannot not miss, right? So I'm just like, man, we got to talk with this guy. We got to talk. And as we start talking, and this thing, guys, and Harry can attest to this, I'm not really big on pushing Mystech when I'm out at my thing. Like I'll talk to people if they want to come up, but I'm not like, hey, how you doing? Hey, come see my product. That's not me. So we talked probably a handful of times, and I don't think we ever talked about what we were really doing or anything, but we really clicked really well. And at one point he comes over, and so look, you guys can't see him right now because it's only the shoulders up, but Harry's ripped, okay? This guy's a little monster, okay? So when you're out here out in the woods, you don't have any clothes on. So he's over here all sweaty. You can tell he knows what his body can and can't do. And when we start muscle testing and talking with him about it, like he's like, what in the world? And I think you even had like a tangible response, didn't you? Like you had the tingle stuff.
Yeah, the response was immediate. And I don't consider myself like a hugely sensitive electrical person, although that is increasing because I've been using Mystech. So that's enhancing the body's natural sensitivity. That's what I'm feeling. At the time, it was just a kind of a feeling. And then the testing was just like, because as you say, like I know my body. and I've spent years refining like what I do with it and what I put into it. So I'm really tuned into, particularly from like a supplemental perspective or something, like how do I feel, what makes me feel certain ways, or what enhances my physical being. So to have that instant and immediate of an adjustment, like of an impact by the tests that you did, I was just like, it stopped everything. It was like, what is
yeah. And it was awesome. And so after that, then he kept like in between stuff, like he would look over and be like, hey, and we just have quick little, exchanges throughout the entire time. And I think, I don't remember if it was at Beloved or afterwards when you were telling me about the quantum entanglement thing that even happened.
Yeah.
Right. Is that, would you mind explaining that? Is that okay?
That was afterwards. I'm happy to explain it for sure. So, all right. So during one of those kind of sidelong kind of glances that Halo was just talking about, the sidelong conversations, right? So I'm working at Coconut Bliss at the cart and sharing the bliss with people. And that's a whole other story, because by rights, like that's one of the ways that I even got to Beloved. And it was a no for the longest time from the guy who was going to bring me there. He's like, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's... And inside, I'm just like, no, it's going to work. I just know it's going to work. I'm going to be going there. And then sure enough, like a week or two before, he's like, yeah, so I would love for you to come and work with us. And they're just like, all right. So that position, you and I, like you said, within like, I don't even think it was 50 feet. It was more like 25 feet. Like we're really close to each other.
Yeah.
And so we were in that place where we were like perfectly positioned to be around each other for hours, for over the course of those days.
Without quarantine, guys, without quarantine. It was
we were around each other. Touched him, felt him. It was great. In fact, I want to skip to the end of this weekend really quickly. It's just like, just speaking to Halo and like, you talk about the different things that create the scope of who we are, and your own teachings, learnings, and practices. Like by the end of that weekend, because of tent and whatever, my back was feeling a bit wonky, and I just knew I could come up to you and say, could you work on me? Could you do some healing? And we dropped to the ground, and right just instantly, without a second, you were like, yeah, let's do this. So it's for those of you who haven't met Halo in person, like it is something that I noted about how he was with other people, and then that I could feel it, and I knew that he'd be there for me in that way if I asked, and absolutely was. So anyway, we do the muscle testing. This is the band, actually. This is the first one. This is the one that started it all right here. And that's the one that I chose from the selection that was there. And as I'm wearing it for about I don't know, a couple hours or something like that. And it just kind of comes to me, and I'm working at the cart, and I have this feeling of like that my girlfriend, she all her life had was suffering, well, at least her adult life, for menstruation, and was experiencing endometriosis to a profoundly limiting effect, to the degree that she really felt like it was going to, that whatever she did with the rest of her life was ultimately going to be dictated by what her body would allow her to do. And up to that point, that wasn't very much. So long walks, stairs, carrying things, a lot of those things would cause her really, really intense pain. And we hadn't been together very long then, but I didn't know that enough of that to go that was part of our experience. And so I just dropped in, and I was still working, and you were at the booth, and I just kind of called you over and I said, do you think this would potentially work, this Mystech, for endometriosis? And me not knowing exactly, not knowing much about this right then, I seemed like I was kind of skeptical. It was like, well, how could this help something like that? And you were just like, yeah, like, no, yeah, it's worth trying. Yeah. So I went back over and I took a look at the selection again and chose another band for her with the felt intent, I'm going to give this to her when I see her, with the intent of assisting that. So I then put it on my other wrist, which meant that from no Mystech, within a couple hours, I was wearing 2 level 2s. And so for anyone who's like really experienced Mystech, to go from none all the way up to 2 level 2s like that, especially in that environment, in that festival where the energy is like so clear anyway.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
And so I remember after getting the second one, I'm like, I'm still working, about an hour passes, and I look over at you and I'm just like,
yeah. You look so good. Yeah. I remember.
I just got this look from you, like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I was just feeling like alive. I think that's the best way to put it. It's like I just felt alive, like everything was turned on.
Yeah.
And that night I actually couldn't sleep. I had to take them off, slide them away from my sleeping bag to the corner of the tent, because I'm like, everything was just vibrating. So that initial kind of acclimation period, hadn't happened. So then the next day, I put them back on and carried on. And that one that I purchased for my girlfriend, Amanda, I wore then continuously until I saw her, in person weeks later. So let's scale back. I buy the one for her. I put it on. About a day later, she sends me a message, and she's in Vancouver, and I'm in the festival in Oregon. And she's like, my body's feeling really good right now. And I hadn't mentioned a word about Mystech or anything to her. I'm just like, okay. There was really it was unexpected for her, and there was no other real reason for her to kind of provide that forward. And as we tracked it back after the fact, she started to experience improvement in her condition from that point. And she hadn't received the bracelet. And she didn't know that I'd gotten this for her. She wasn't aware. She just
right
shared this improvement.
Right. That's phenomenal.
So, yeah, it was something that, it's especially like, fortunately from because I've learned about quantum physics and principles of quantum entanglement. So when that happened, I was able to connect the two and go, this is already making this impact.
Yeah.
And which is phenomenal, because we talk about the impact of Mystech being a physical one, the 7.83 hertz impacting you physically. But this is the power of what this is the mystery of what all this is, and the power of how we're able to interact with it, that we can link the physical into the metaphysical, into the non-physical, and then affect it that way.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing. I love it so much. And I was really excited that you even knew what that was, because a lot of people don't. And so for anyone out there that's not familiar with this, right, whether you guys are with us on social media or you're an artist first, so the quantum entanglement is essentially two different molecules, right? And it can go from the tiny quantum size all the way up to the macro. But anyways, two things that resonate strongly with each other, no matter what distance apart they are or not. If one thing happens to one, it immediately affects the other because of that entanglement energetically. Right now, as you guys are getting to know Harry and everything, and I know him, he is a very deep, emotional, connected, authentic person. So the things that he puts his emotion into get very big shifts of energy behind them. So as to where, while he had this experience, I'm not going to say that everyone gets this where someone has a gift, their cousin or whatever is going to magically have this happen. But if you are in the understanding of who and what you are able of like what you can wield, then you have the potential of doing that. And this is something that Harry just innately knew from other studies that he was doing. And then, like he just mentioned now, after he saw the result, was able to then connect the two. And that, again, is part of what I mean by this golden ticket theory. And it's not just for Harry, but for Mystech and for Canada, it is. And I'm so excited about this. And so after this quantum entanglement thing happens, and we start talking and conversing more and catching up, Harry brings up the idea of selling Mystech in Canada. And it is absolutely astounding that he asked me this, because it was already something I had been meditating on and mulling over. And I think when we finally talked about it, I'm like, dude, I've been wanting to get someone in Canada for years, and we already have a huge Canada market, but I've not had a person I trust to do it. And within the first couple of days of knowing him, within the moments, I'm like, oh, that's him. This is the guy, 100,000%. And there was no doubt, there was no shakiness, there was no fear, there was no versions of a potential path forward that I could not see him being involved in the company. And guys, I'm telling you, and it's because of the level of authenticity, because of the depth of emotion, but also because of the acknowledgement of what the emotions are experiencing them, understanding how to operate with them, and really transmuting everything into a positive. Every time I've talked to him, and dude, guys, I'm pretty up when we were doing the show, but I got some human in me still. So I go through these down dark places too. And Harry's seen me cry. I've seen Harry cry. These are not bad things. These are things that we should be able to experience and go through the whole spectrum and range of emotions that we have and learn to appreciate them.
I cried this morning.
Dude, it's a great thing, and it allows you to have a broader perspective of the things that are important. Yeah. Right. And I think that's one of the other things that we've had that's been very, very like-minded, is that for millennia now, we've been operating from the same dimension. And my show this week, if we didn't have the Mystech.ca launching this week, the show was going to be about the multiverse that we're all actually in right now. And here's what's amazing about the beloved thing, and to go along with this theory, is when all those people are up there, it's everyone from the same dimension, all up there. That's why there is no confusion or the words don't make sense. But then you can be out with your muggle girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and people that are in a parallel with you, but they don't live in the metaphysical domain. So when someone from that plane comes up to you and starts talking, like, it's like you guys are speaking another language, but you're using the exact same words, but in this dimension, those words don't mean the same thing. So I think that was one of the things about Harry, is immediately there was the recognition of this dimensional exchange and understanding of, oh, you're here at this slice of the cosmos right now too? Man, it's good seeing you again. And I feel like it's been like that from the very beginning and has just accelerated forward.
Yeah, thank you for all of that. And I think much of that like dimensionality you're talking about, we can use the word resonance with it. We can use and that's how we experience it. That's how we feel that harmony, even if we're not fully clear about some of the details of it yet. And so that's what happened. One of the ways that I look at it is like when things sort of light up or feel a little more illuminated, right? A little more illumined. There's like, oh, this is significant. There's something here. And that was the case with us. And I didn't know at the time, unbeknownst to me, that you had set out this intention, that this pursuit was alive for you and active. And so it wasn't, I had no idea that you were looking and then seeing me the way that you ended up, as you shared afterwards, that I stood out for you, that I lit up in that way, and that, you identified that. And it was interesting too, because I was a little bit ahead of you, like closer to the crowd. So if you were looking outward, you would have seen, more of me in a way. So I realized you were watching in a way that I wasn't at the time. But for me and you, when I saw you, I was just like, oh, immediately, and you were working with other people, and I didn't feel the same thing about all the other people you were working with. There was something just about us that we were meant to link into. And so and back to that emotion thing, like I think, and manifestation. And so those students of manifestation know that our light, that this energy, that this is the fuel, this is the rocket fuel behind powering whatever you want to create or whatever you want to manifest. And so that it needs to be used responsibly as well. But this is, I think, like what was beautiful about this particular incident with myself and Amanda and her bracelet was, it does speak to the entanglement she and I have and have had since before we met in this life, and truly the emotion that was there is there for me for her, and how ready it was at access to link into that intention, because I didn't sit down in a ceremony, I didn't grab a bunch of branches and create a circle and do that. That just came from, because those elements are in place.
Yeah. And see, guys, that's what I'm saying, the verbiage, the elements, these things, right? There's synergistic environments that you can create. And if you do it purposely, it's just one of those things, like you mentioned a minute ago, that fuel, well, your tank is still a tank. Yep. So when I'm talking about having this photo right here, and then my statue of myself from the Egyptian days with my, these are things that are there to keep that tank on refuel and on repeat, because we're always putting these things out. And even if you're not operating from the metaphysical, wizardy, alchemic, fairy, whatever point of view, you're still exerting energy. And so if you're ignoring that white has all the colors of the spectrum in it, and you're like, oh, I'm just getting rid of the white, you're still getting rid of these other colors within that. So just because you're not aware of this energy that's leaving through your other versions of energy leaving, it doesn't mean it's not happening. So
Yes.
becoming conscious and aware of those things allows you to create barriers and tools and just stepping stones to get you to where you need to be all the time. And so as often as me and Harry talk now, it's really become also one of these like refueling stations for each other, as a mutual exchange of knowing like I can lean on you, you can lean on me. And having that, I know for me has been a huge, huge thing over the last few months, especially with all this other craziness going on before life was already hectic enough. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Refueling and recentering.
Yeah.
Recentering back into purpose, because our attention is being fought for. It's being like zealously sought and then
Yeah.
guarded. Once they've got it, they want to keep it. Why?
Yeah.
Because our attention is that fuel.
Right.
And so when it moves away to another, to a drama or to another situation or to something else, and especially when those things aren't actually life-giving, they're not actually returning something back to us, it's a real gift to be able to connect with someone that can recenter, go, okay, where do I actually want my attention to be? And I think one of the things for Amanda and I, when we decided to bring up the prospect of Mystech coming up to Canada, was that it was clear that your vision, the specifics of it, like it just felt right. It felt like something we matched up with. So it is important to have those people around you in your life that are those recentering people, that are aligned with where is you're going, that know what it is that you're wanting to, the direction that you're moving in, and can be, whether it's overt or not, deliberate or not, can serve to be the people or those influences that help guide you back and bring your attention back to where you want it to be.
Yeah.
Where we go, where we look. Don't look at a ditch when you're driving.
Yeah, man.
So we want to be looking in the place that we want to go.
Yeah, and that got me to Canada, man. It was incredible. And now look, I'm gonna insert a little thing in here about how incredible this has been in the long run. And I need you guys to understand this, because when I'm talking about this golden ticket, right? Here's an interesting thing. So this golden ticket idea, right? The ultimate win, all that, guys. The golden version of it, that means it's an infinitesimal, full spectrum in all sorts of ways, not just like, think of it this way. If you look at the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, right? The golden ticket wasn't about being able to go to the factory. It was about inheriting the factory. So it's not just the one thing, it's this. And guess what? Taking over the factory is also going to lead to even more things. So I mean, the golden ticket is this ongoing thing. So not only did I re-find a soul family member very, very closely, not only did that happen, we were able to get a stronger establishment of the Mystech movement there. I finally had an excuse to get around to getting my passport. I got to go to Vancouver. It was the most beautiful city I've ever been to. I had such an amazing time. The hotel I stayed at had some of the best drinks I ever had in my life. I was watching planes coming out the water. Just an amazing experience, all from just meeting this gentleman and recognizing, again, and acknowledging, not having the brain go, yeah, but yeah, no. The feeling of ultimate resonance and knowing literally created a whole new pathway that was just there. But if I wasn't paying attention to it, and if I let my humanistic part of the brain and the ego go, nah, and the greed and all these, none of these things would have happened. And then after Vancouver, then I end up in Toronto. And here's what's amazing about that is while I'm in Toronto, I get to run into another soul brother, Ra. He shows up, right? We meet the people from doTERRA. We have people do a live blood test to try to disprove Mystech, and instead it shows in 4 hours, it completely changes it. And we're hearing screaming on the other side of the center because they're running over to bring us the stuff. I met so many new people. We've had so many just amazing, nurturing, life-giving experiences, all from just the initial acknowledgement and recognition of what we can actually see.
Yes.
And I think this is very important to acknowledge that it's what we see, not what we were told to look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the really big thing.
And you also use the word feel. And so we can translate, conflate the word see with feel. Because if you hadn't exercised that feeling perception, not just what you're looking at, but what you're really, really looking at with what you're receiving, right? What you're feeling, and changing our sight to being to not exactly what we're told to see, or how we're told things should look, but actually to a full sight, a full reception. It's that ends up becoming that guidance, and that's what you were listening to, and that's the thing for us to continue to be cultivating. It's like, how does this feel?
Yeah.
How is this feeling in this moment? Amanda and I, we didn't know it. We had no idea how it would look down the road, but something kept feeling right for us to move forward with you. It was just yes. It was just yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's the same thing, and that's what that's, I think, our work is to go, okay, is to trust what we are seeing through our feeling.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's what you actually, that's part that pulls me right into a segue I was just about to bring up too. So again, divine timing. I'm telling you guys, can't make this stuff up. So again, me and Harry talk often, and because I know, at least I like to feel that he knows my overall real intent for everything, long term, short term, all these things, he through and through. So it was interesting. One of the things that I've talked about off and on the show, and I don't get into it too often. I don't think Harry and I really got too deep into it, but guys, I don't operate how the regular 9 to 5 people do, and I don't do the same calculating, and I don't even look at the funds. There's just a lot of things I don't do the same. I feel very led, and I feel very directed, and there's a vision, and I don't know what it is a lot of the time. And I know for partners and for other associates, and even for the customers and family out there, that it can be frustrating seeing movement or operations not in the regular format. But and it even worries me. It makes me nervous and even makes me nauseous sometimes. And like, but I still just take a deep breath and trust it. And guys, and I'm telling you the same thing, because I have that same trust and understanding of this. And it wasn't a hope. That's a different thing. It was a knowing, a true click. Everything always reveals to be beyond what I thought it was going to be, which is what Harry was talking about at the beginning. And so we were talking earlier this week, and it's been crazy, guys, with this COVID thing and with no travel. And I was supposed to be moving to Vegas right now, and kids, all these things. I'm talking with Harry, and Harry pulls back and says, "Hey, man, look, me and Amanda have been talking, and we know that you operate in the way that you operate, and that there's a timing. And we're learning to kind of let go and trust in that too. And you're right. And it has been unfolding that way." And he said it in a time that I really needed to hear it. And it's actually the first time anyone's ever said that to me from an external point. I've never heard anyone say it that way. So it was also one of those things a minute ago when he's talking about people that pull you back to your path and your alignment. That's really how I've operated and how I want to. I don't want to chase money. I don't want to chase attention or fame. I want to do whatever is going to implement the best improvement for overall life for everything, not just for humans, for everything. But we have to the humans got to get right first, so we stop being the version that brings these type of things to wipe us. Anyways, but so it was amazing to hear this thing without ever really talking about it, and to be reflected back as a level of understanding. And so that also, I believe, is part of that golden ticket resonance, is understanding and allowance. And I think that's a big thing right now as we're all going through these newfound changes or whatever, is the allowance and understanding of each other's perspectives. Like John Traverson's in the Facebook channel, and he's been commenting a little bit, and he said, perspective is so incredibly important. And that's what it is. But we have to understand that we all have our different perspectives. And so there's conversations that I have with Harry that I won't have with other people, because I know that he's acquired these lenses to have the scope of perspective of what I'm trying to talk about, as to where I could say the exact same words to other people, but without that lens to filter through what I'm really saying, it's not there. And I think we just immediately have that resonance that all the filters just automatically were there. And all it is just the truth that we both understand and help each other figure it out along the way. And
and then what to do with it now. And I think in terms of that shared perspective, and I think so just to kind of bring this back, like to make this really tangible for people right now, especially for anyone who's feeling like increased anxiety over the current situation. It's like we are in such a time, we're taught that time is everything. And so to focus, that time is money, that your time is valuable, and if your time is not and then expectations, and when the expectation of time isn't met, then then that tells you something about the other person or about you, and so it becomes extremely destabilizing and disruptive for us when these ideas of time aren't adhered to, right? So especially now, it's like, I got to get this thing from Amazon now because I'm afraid of what might happen if I run out and I don't have it, and then there's a shortage, but if I don't get to the store now, and if I got to wait in this line, like everything is we get so fixated, it brings our attention it down into this it's like staring at a watch, watching it tick around, and missing everything else that's happening around. Yep. And so this conversation that we had, what I shared with you, what I wanted to reflect back is going, look, even I, as like starting, I've never had a business of my own before. There's this sense of financial, and there's like risk, and how's this going to go, and whereas is like, I haven't heard back. Is the order ready? Like, these are the things that we can get fixated thinking like these things are everything. But in actuality, they're just an expression of something bigger that is going on. So we got to find a way to breathe and go, all right, this is going to take a little bit longer, or it didn't happen when I think. Well, maybe that's fine. Maybe, in fact, it's not only fine, but it's actually because this way, this timing, which I don't have necessarily access to with my eyes because I'm staring at the watch, I'm looking on this, and I can't see this timing. I can't see / feel this timing, right? The feeling perception. Right. I can't feel that. And if I were able to feel it, I might actually find out that, oh, you know what? Maybe it's okay. In fact, maybe there's a better reason for it to be a little bit later, or for it to be at a different time, or to be something else. We can't see all the moving parts. We don't know everything. There might be a reason that we're meant to not have something happen today, but actually in 2 days. Right. Maybe if we want it to be really practical, maybe if I go to the store in 2 days, it's half price. Like, we don't know, but if we can let go and begin to release and ask that question, oh, I was fixated on this, but if I can go back into my feeling place, how does this feel? Does this feel wrong? Does it actually feel like a problem? Maybe not. Maybe something feels really good about it.
Right. Yeah. And dude, and yeah. So that right there, what you said, that is how I've been able to unprogram my brain to have those set things, right? There was a really fast version. This guy showed me this amazing like technique to teach people this, where you hold your 2 fingers like this and just stare at your right finger. Right, look at your fingertip. Sorry, flip them around. Watch this. This is awesome. So look at your right finger and just the fingertip, and nothing else exists but that fingertip right now. Right, and so if you were the perfect artist, you could draw it. Now, when I say you're gonna look at your left finger, but nothing else but the right finger exists. Right, so 1, 2, 3. Look at your left finger. Okay, now don't go back and look at the right, but from what you can remember, what you see now, like the little comparisons, little differences. Maybe one's got a scar, maybe not. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3. Now watch this. Put your hands down. Now, here's what's really funny, and be honest. From the time you went from here to here, what do you remember seeing?
Nothing.
And that is how the human experience is set up, to go from this to this to this to this. Now that your hands are down, look at all these things you've been missing out on the entire time. Yeah. So there's people that I talk with that they're like, there's no way you sit around and just think about things all day long. I have myself locked away in a room, locked away in an apartment, locked away in a complex that nobody knows where I am. So I have no other type of distractions to do nothing other than put all of this down and look at all of these things all the time. And the alchemist breaks things down to the finest details to see what's the real version, because your fear is attached to so many other things. And so you can't just be like, I'm afraid, and leave it there. You have to break that down to what it is. So now you know what that is. Now, how does that fit into the direct? Okay, we don't need that. And that's how this understanding of timing and relax and process of understanding just happens. Like on my birthday, I ordered a camera, like $900 off of Amazon, under the understanding like this is definitely the one. And I didn't wait to hear back from my director friend. And I was waiting all day. I'm like, no, I'm gonna order it right now. If I wait any longer, no, I want it. Well, literally 30 seconds after I hit buy now on Amazon, he goes, that's not the one. That one needs a bunch of other programs and a bunch of other things. And I'm like, what? He goes, no, man, get this one. And it was a completely different one for $800. He goes, hey, it's Amazon. Don't worry about it. Just send it back when you get it and they'll refund you. For whatever reason, this seller didn't offer a refund option. And I didn't know that. And my wife wanted me to wait. And I'm like, no, I'll just order it now. It'll be fine. I can get a refund. No big deal. And then after I order it, I find out there's no refund option. So I call Amazon and they're like, oh, when you get the package, just call us and we'll walk you through it. No problem. On my birthday, it arrives and I call in and they're like, oh, this is weird. They don't have, well, you know what? Just keep it. And I go, what? And they go, you can either keep it, you can throw it away or donate it, but they don't have an option. So we have a return option. So we can't give it back to him. So you can just keep it. So I literally got a completely free camera, an $800 camera, because I decided to do it right now instead of waiting, because I felt that I have to do this thing. And it's the same thing. Even when me and Jade go to do packages, right? We go to drop stuff off and I'm like, all right, Jade, we got to go. And he was like, all right, I'll be ready. I'll go down to the car. And after a certain amount of time, I'm like, all right, man, I got to go. And I'll just back out and I leave. But when I leave, I run into like one of the Mystech people, or I run into a friend I haven't seen in years. And if I would have waited or anything outside of that, that would not have happened. So the idea that other people do things for the reasons that they do them, like I know lots of people that do the old psilocybin mushroomy just to go see a bunch of wild, crazy, who knows what. But then I also know medicine men and shamans that actually do it as a ritualistic medicinal practice. So the idea that we all do things for the same reason, see all the same things, operate from the same space-time is completely insane to me. So that's what I mean in this time of having the allowance of, okay, well, that's how you operate. Well, fantastic. And whatever version that you're doing that works for you, and really if you feel that puts you on the greatest trajectory for your overall, fantastic. Do that instead of everybody else's way. And everyone else can stay out of your, like, otherwise find the symbiotic approach and do it.
Yeah, that's it. They don't have to be countered. They can be symbiotic.
Yeah.
They can be synergistic. And if we open up to that possibility, oh, how does this way, which is other than mine, how does it work with me?
Yeah.
How does this actually fold into me? Like it does, but the minute that we're looking at it as as oppositional or confrontational, then we're not positioned to work with it. And
Right.
there's so much potential the minute that we open up to go and how is this person doing what they're doing something different than me. They have a reason. What might that be? Because they don't see what I see. I don't see what they see. We do not share these eyes.
Right.
So there's a really great opportunity there. I want to come back for a second to what you're sharing in terms of like being so fixated on these 2 points and missing everything in between. We can link this back to brainwave states and to beta and to alpha and this widening of focus and this taking in of more information. But the main thing that like is really track what happens to your vision internally and externally when you're afraid, right? It becomes fixed, totally focused on a singular thing, on that subject, object, or whatever of the fear. And sometimes that's mentally generated or not, but it's fixed. It's very difficult to then set the intention to go back wide, to scale back the focus, to open it up, and to actually sustain that fear.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very difficult to keep it, pushing it through. So you can kind of choose, that's a great way of like, I was going to say hijacking the fear process, but undoing it at its root is go, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to just look and widen the focus at everything around me. And in that space, then I'm present with it all. And then that begins to develop this feeling perception we're talking about. Like, how's everything feel right now?
Yeah.
What am I thinking about?
Yeah, no, dude, I love it. I love it. And that's what I mean. It's important to dissect these things in it, right? Mm-hmm. Like you don't gain muscle mass in lifting weights by looking at the bar, right? And thinking about, man, I can't believe I just lifted that. It's in the process of holding onto it and seeing how long you can hold the resistance and push through it and everything. That's what develops the strength of it, not remembering it and being like, whew, man, I beat it. No, you have to be in that space. You have to be in that pressure, right? We are the living, walking crystals. And in the same way that pressure creates diamonds, we need that. We have to have that. We're the walking, talking plants. We need the ground. We need the sunlight. We are these elemental things in a conscious life form. So we have to understand and acknowledge that perspective of what we're doing. So I completely agree with you, man. Like looking at that, like, man, how am I feeling right now? And what's really interesting about that is I've been making myself go through these emotions a lot more. And I've actually found myself enjoying like being sad and enjoying some things that do scare me. And because it's not looking at the thing that's making me feel that way, it's just the emotion itself. And what an amazing thing to be able to go through a contrast of these type of feelings to more sharpen my perspective of what I'm actually looking at and everything. I mean, if think of it this way, when you stub your toe, that crazy instant of pain, right, and emotion, everything, you will make sure you're not going to do that again because it's so intense and so everything. And you're you know it's the foot, but you're not even thinking about it anymore. You're just like, ah, and you know, right? It's that excruciating physical pain. So that is an easy thing to not be able to let go of. You have to wait for it to just stop throbbing and fade away. But when you're upset about something, and I've done it, you know, especially men, we do it all the time, like, no, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to do it. Nope. And you cut it off. Well, you have not given yourself the time to go through that same thing that happens to your foot, where you have to feel it through to where eventually it's not as painful because you felt it for so long. But without going through those emotions, whether it's good or bad, you don't get the full version of what it's teaching you and what you're learning and how to build resilience to it if you need it, or how to use it to amplify you if you need it. So you can't just cut these things off, but you also can't attach them to the cause either. You have to learn to just pull the emotion to what it is. You know what I mean?
So, and here's the alchemy part of it is that emotion, especially if it is authentic, if it's here, is the raw material. It's a vibration and it's not going anywhere. So there can be a resistance to it. There can be a pretending that it's not there. You can shut it behind a shelf, but that's actually still there. It's still there in your energetic being, in your body somewhere. And the opportunity to actually take it out and be with it, and then for it to be transmuted, for it to be formed into something else, or for it even to allow for its own natural evolution into whatever it may become.
Yep.
That's, we rob ourselves of that opportunity when we, as you said, when we just push it away. We're like, no, I refuse to feel that. So, you know, you're talking about like feeling sad sometimes and how that actually feels good, especially if it's authentically what's there. It feels good to attend to the emotion that's there because it's there.
Yeah.
It feels good to be with it. It's because it's like, it's going, thank you. I'm right here. I wasn't going to go anywhere until you paid attention to me. Thank you for paying attention to me. Now that I'm here and you're here together, something could happen.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's just the release of it, whether it's the being informed by it, by whether it's the guidance of it, whether it's the, you know, as you've shared with me, whether it's the possibility of being formed by it, and the fact that I've just gone through something intense, and I'm still here, and I'm alive, and it's me, and I'm capable of that and more now.
Yeah, exactly. And if you didn't go through that, then you wouldn't know. You know what I mean? And it's funny. I look at it this way. I'm a very organized chaos person because I'm more about efficiency than the look, right? But there's still times where, and it's very similar to your emotions, to where finally the clutter is to where like I've put it off long enough. I just gotta clean it really quick. And it's not even the end result of everything being cleaned and put away. It's the organizing and finding out like, oh, this is here, and oh, this does make me feel this way, and oh, I did think about this, and the same way of going through and removing that clutter that we think we can work around. And then all of a sudden there's this like lightness that comes, and this like new levels of things to look at and understand because your brain's not so overly scattered because of all this emotional tension and scatteredness. Yeah. Like it's important.
Yes. And all the energy that you were spending in resisting, looking at the clutter, because you actually have to, on some level, your system resources, a proportion of that is being allotted to the task of avoid this.
Yeah.
So that's a continual drain. It's continually running it's a program running in the background. Yep. You can't use task manager to quit that. It's running.
Yeah. So and it'll make you go in extra directions to exert extra energy.
Exactly, absolutely.
And I'm not going to say my room's ever been this bad, but think of a room so cluttered that instead of just walking straight from the door to your bed, you got to walk around all these piles of clothes instead of picking them up. So all these extra steps that you're taking and ignoring it, like all this extra things. But if you just take the time to clear up, the path is very clear. Guys, the path is very clear. You just have to get rid of the clutter like that.
Yeah, it is that. And so then you have all of this returned energy and capacity to walk that path.
Yeah. And more space to put energy into.
And then you've got those extra resources to deal with whatever arises on it. Like it leads to greater presence. It leads to greater ability to be authentic and engage with what's right, what is being brought right in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. I love it, man. I love it. So excited. So now, so I'm gonna ask you this. So for being an actor, right? Because I know there's different modalities to acting and practices and everything. Um, how much has this fine tuning of emotions come from acting, or was it something that you just already did and went, oh, I can make money doing this?
Huh. Yeah, I never thought of it. I could make money doing it. No. It's interesting putting it that way because I've never, and then scaling back, I don't know if I've ever thought of it as like,
Maybe
it just,
making money is the wrong thing. Maybe I can make a career of it. Maybe that's a better.
it wasn't even that though. The career perspective on this is what took me off my love of it. So it led me to getting into school. This thing, this, this thing led me to getting into school to do this thing. But then there it was like, okay, now I got to get out and have a career so that I can do this thing.
Gotcha.
But the career came first. And so then it became all about this being fixated on the career. And then I fell way out of love with this thing and doing this thing. And, you know, I would have moments on stage, but for years, I did not love doing what I did, even though I would still do it, even though I was all the way in it. I fundamentally, I was not loving it. I was not, sometimes not even excited, sometimes intensely relieved for a show to be over because I was under such anxiety about the career part of it.
Yeah.
What if the show doesn't go well? What if this performance doesn't go well? You know, so all of that got in the way of it. So in terms of the emotional part, it just seemed to be through the avenue of acting, through getting up and performing, it seemed to be like it seemed to just kind of open this space up in which all of this emotion that I may not have been expressing as a child or whatever had a chance to move through. Like I remember my audition for this acting program that I was talking about, and they wanted me to do an improv. And so they set up the scene and they gave me a scenario. They said, pick a person, la, 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 and, you know, say something to them. And so a scenario came and a person came and I started to speak to this individual and they were in a chair and it just went, and I like exploded, lost it, kicked the chair out of the room, like just, woof. And the people watching, you know, one of the teachers was like, well, obviously you have some experience doing this or something. And I'm like, I've never done that before once in my life. All it was opening up of what was there. And this, so there, I guess this access, it's almost like performing gave me the permission to open up the access to this place. And the more that I've allowed myself to keep that access a little bit more open and to go, it's okay. And to go, it's okay to feel. Now, even the you know, the much feared task of like needing to cry on stage or something, it's not a job. It's all I'm doing is I'm just feeling the moment. I'm feeling the circumstances, feeling what it is, and then that reaction often just comes.
Yeah. That's amazing. Okay. Yeah. No, that's why I was asking. Like, it's something that's, instead of being a career based, it's become something that allowed you to grow in the ways that you need to, and it has bonuses to go along with it. But it's been more of a tool more than a directive.
It's been a piece of the whole. It's been an aspect. It's been something that has moved me into places and moved me to people and moved me and given me particular experiences. It's been a part of it. It's been a part of it that served the overall journey that I've been on. Unlike how I thought it was going to be, and how I think maybe some people imagine acting, where the journey that they're on is there to serve their career, to serve acting. It's been the opposite for me.
Yeah.
And so it means that my journey, sometimes I'm not acting, I'm not actively performing. It's not happening. And I've had enough of those experiences to know that's because at this time, there's another way that my soul's navigating this experience. And I don't need to be in a theater right now for that. I actually need to be somewhere else. I need to be around a different group of people. And maybe maybe they need to be around me for some reason. You know? Yeah. So it's understanding that for me, whatever my broader soul experience is here to do. And a really gifted reader that I've worked with, intuitive that I've worked with the last couple of years, she's like, your soul intention is to nurture and assist. And that resonated. And if that's so, if that's the truth, and she's like, and you don't have to do that. That can happen in any number of ways. It doesn't have to be just in your career of acting. And that's so clear to me. I feel so fulfilled when I'm in the environment where I'm able to nurture someone or something, or assist someone or something. This sharing of education, or the sharing of information, this assisting people in helping meet their needs. That is what I'm fundamentally passionate about.
Yeah.
And so that soul intention, that can be realized in a few different ways. And sometimes it has been and is going to be acting, and sometimes it'll be other things. And so this Mystech is a wonderful other thing.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. And then we've got a few more minutes, and we're definitely gonna have to do a part 2 and 4 and 5. But I want to tie back something really quick, and then we'll cover a couple of new things about Mystech. But so what I think I heard you say right now in that, and I'm actually really excited for what you said, because I think you have a very exquisite piece that would help so many people. And it's especially from how the world was before. A lot of people's version of success or fulfillment is really this thing to this thing. And a lot of times this one thing is from what friends or family, or the version of what they think it's supposed to be. Opposed to having that one thing, you're having something that can have one thing, but be done through a multitude of mediums and aspects and approaches. So it doesn't matter about this one thing or this one area. Overall, it's all encompassing with this intent behind it. And as long as that's being expressed and there's something tangible that's coming from it, then that's more than enough to be fulfilled. And I think that's beautiful, because it gives you an opportunity in every single moment. Like, dude, imagine like being a professional baseball player right now, that's your one and only love that you have. And even picking up a stick and hitting a tennis ball is not the same thing. So it's not that you don't have the same level of love or passion or consideration, but it gets narrowed into this one thing. If that's gone, a part of you is gone with it. On the other hand, if you're just an athlete, period, any version of any type of sporting activity, you can find the same level of enjoyment and excitement in. And so now you have all these new options of all sorts of other things. And if this one thing goes, you still have these other things. And so I think how you just explained it right now, that's been your approach. As long as what you're doing is assisting, or it is nurturing, and whatever aspect or outlet that you're given the opportunity to use, that's a version of fulfillment to you.
Yeah, learning that really explained why I was feeling fulfilled doing so many other things. And I think the image that came up as you were sharing this is that one thing that I'm fixated on. So rather than it be the thing that I'm doing, but if we change this to go, what is the thing that I'm here to do? What is that? And then that gets a chance to recede way back, and it's at the back of the room.
Can I adjust that? You'll love this. And then put your hands back, because this will be perfect, I promise. So instead of this one singular thing like this, right? Yeah. Instead of it going away, you take this thing and you change the direction it's going, and now everything that you're looking at is this.
Perfect. Yeah.
So go back to this. Go ahead. Go back to here, because I'm telling you that's what that is. Yeah.
And so then the way that I can move through anything is and that's how we stay aligned, and we feel this is the recentering. It's like, okay, I'm here to, you figure out what it is you're here to do. And if it for me is I'm here to nurture and assist, then if I want to feel the best, then I'm going to move through aligned to this thing. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, man. Thank you. I'm so glad that was, man, perfect. That part of my brain's never even been activated before. So that was good. I think, I know that helped me dramatically right now. So I hope that helped a lot of people out there. That's really awesome. So I really got like 3 minutes. So for your new level of assistance. So guys, I wanted you guys to get to know him more than I wanted to just focus on the business stuff. It's just not my thing. But this whole golden ticket thing I've been talking about, Harry is our new official head of Mystech.ca. He is running our entire Canadian division for everything Mystech related. I believe this site is pretty much ready to go. There would probably some fine tuning, maybe still. It's even been on I've had my site for 6 years. We're still fine tuning. But you can go there. And this is what I'm saying, guys. If you're in Canada, go to Mystech.ca, save on customs, save on shipping, and probably get it faster. So we'll be doing more things and campaigns and everything to get the site out more. But I really want you guys to know the heart and the person behind, and why I'm more than comfortable to release it to him and see what he does with it. And I've already done some events with him, and we've had such an amazing time. And I know his heart is behind the overall intention. And I'm happy that this gets to be another medium of your expression, man. That makes me very happy.
I'm so glad too. It found me, like, as much, it found this, we found each other with this. And like I learned this from you about the website. I remember you mentioning, yeah, I just let the website, people can kind of access it while it's under construction. And I remember you saying that. It's like, why hide the process? Yeah. And so if anyone happens to have been there over the last few days, they will have seen the process, as my partner Amanda, she's been like crafting and rebuilding and redoing, and we're working together into creating it. And it's in process now, and it's going to continue in process until not only launch date, but then afterwards as well. And so, yeah, like it's amazing to be working with her on it, and to have like to feel her heart being expressed through the site, and to feel how aligned ours are in what we're wanting to do with this, and to feel, like I said, like so appreciative of of the opportunity, because I'm called to bring this to people, to make a difference for them. And so it's just to have the chance and to now to do it in Canada is, it just feels amazing.
Oh, man. Well, thank you for answering the call, man. I'm telling you, it's been such a boost in so many ways, and just a spike of energy that I've needed. And so it's been exceptional, man. Thank you so much for everything. It's been awesome.
You're welcome. I'm so welcome.
So where can these guys find you if they want to connect? And obviously mystech.ca is where you can see the site, but if they want to be able to get a hold of you and connect with you, which I think is very important as well, where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mystech.ca is the site, Mystech Canada on Instagram and Facebook. Those are going to be a lot more active moving forward. So you can definitely reach out to Amanda, myself, and either of those, all three of those channels, the site, or else those two socials. And then for me, Harry Judge at Instagram. What? At Instagram at Harry Judge? Is that how? That's one of those places.
They'll understand.
I think that's probably a really great place. For Facebook, it's Harry Judge as well. And then I also have a fan page too. If people want to touch base about any the Star Trek stuff or suits, then they can link up with me in the fan page too. So there's two Harry Judges available on Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Wait, guys, I'll definitely be having Harry on again really soon. We got lots to talk about. We're working on a bajillion different things. The multiverse is working with us. We're having a great time. So Harry, you have any last final words you'd like to leave him with?
For some reason, the words that came up were trust yourself. Trust yourself. Like trust yourself. And that's because there's so much that's going on right now. We're being asked to trust a lot of things. Don't worry about those things. Those things don't matter. Those other voices don't matter. Like we talked about this. You can trust any number of, don't trust what you're reading. Don't trust what you're being told. Trust yourself. Trust what you see. Trust what you feel. Trust what feels right. And I know what we want with this is to actually give you the tool for you to actually be able for more of your own agency, more of your own sovereignty. We give you something that helps separate you by restoring you to your own natural frequency, separating you from a bunch of other frequencies that are kind of spinning you out and make it harder to actually feel what's true for you.
Yeah.
We give you this, we give you back to yourself. That's the point of this.
It is.
So we want, so if that's where we can help you with that. Trust yourself, and this is going to help. And so those are my last words.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Love you, brother.
Love you too.
Thank you for coming on. And so everyone's on Artists First. You guys here with me on Facebook. We'll get the channel on YouTube. This will be up there by probably Saturday at the latest. Guys, please reach out to Harry. Check out mystech.ca. And this is Halo, your local wizard, Jedi Alchemist, wishing you guys a fantastic rest of your day. And we'll talk soon, all right? See you guys. And we'll do this here. Boom.